Alright, this is Ark Survival Ascended. I'm on a 6750 XT. I think I've got it on medium right now, and I'm right at 30 FPS. There's high. It's playable with motion blur. Love the water flow, actually flowing out towards the ocean. There's that fluid ninja. Actually makes splashes. See if we can keep most of this quality and get a better frame rate. Post-processing seems to hit pretty hard. Global illumination does too. We're gonna take that down to medium. Textures are going to depend most on your memory and your graphics card. The resolution scale is going to also hit hard. I'm going to knock it down to about 65. Let's take those general shadows down. So now it looks much more like Ark Survival Evolved kind of lighting. Some of that's because the sun's gone. The wet rocks and sand look fantastic. It does look a little weird that the leaves on the trees appear wet, but the grass and bushes don't quite shine and shimmer as well. Actually, that's not fair. Let's boost the quality back up. Oop. Trying to get some choppiness, but yeah, it's a little better. The football has been completely remade. .30 FPS with motion blur on is actually pretty usable. Motion blur is not quite as sickening in Survival Ascended as it was in Survival Evolved. Hey, little Dillo. Oh yeah, look at those light beams. I'm hungry. UI changes, but they're all intuitive. Some new berries. Oh, I just ate a narco berry. I mean, the water just looks fantastic. And I like how this fog effect and cloud effect has replaced the general fog that looked just like smoke on the island before. That was just so bad. They've really done a lot of work with the motion blur. I hated motion blur on Survival Evolved. Um, but yeah, it's not sickening and The whole point of motion blur is to make low frame rates look a little bit better, and it actually does instead of making me want to puke. Oh, look at that hand of God! Ah. Alright, you can really dial it back, so let's knock this back to low. We'll kind of walk through that. This is if you're closer to the 1080 side of the spectrum, that's their minimum. Oop, that's gonna make me thirsty. Oh, it's raining. So I'd say the low preset already still looks better than Survival Evolved, especially with the additional ground clutter. Um, I was hitting monitor limits on Survival Evolved on high settings. I'm definitely not getting close to that even on low settings. But it's still, I mean, look at that. That's so much more beautiful than Survival Evolved. Is it worth $40 for a single map reskin? The gameplay's pretty similar. Being able to snatch up babies with an RG and tame that way instead of traditional taming adds a nice new element. The cave updates are fantastic. I've explored most of them on single player already. Um, but if you can run it at above 25 FPS even on low, I'd say this is totally worth the $40. Anyways, that's just a quick look at what Survival Ascended looks like on a, oh my gosh, just forgot my graphic card, 6750 XT. Matter of fact, let's yeah, it pretty much keeps the GPU maxed out. CPU's showing up weird, but yeah, it's a 6900X. I don't have any overclocking turned on right now. Overclocking, um, both CPU overclocking and GPU overclocking on Survival Evolved crashed the heck out of my system. Um, I was crashing about once an hour, so I dropped everything back to vanilla. I don't think we'll see we won't see my RAM rate. It's 6,000. It was a new um, speed for this series of Ryzen. Like this motherboard, it was an early AM5 motherboard. I think it's already been revised twice. It's fantastic. There's my graphic specs. I have a crap ton of monitors attached to this thing. That is probably knocking down my frame rate a little bit more, especially since I have OBS going and I think I have YouTube running in the background as well. And that'll knock down the frame rate a little bit. Um, Getting rid of multiple monitors will add anywhere from 10 to 20% more frame. I just wanted to punch back in with my other monitors turned off. I'm on the medium preset, and it really didn't seem to have that much of an impact. It's down a couple frames per second right now, I think, just because it's nighttime. I mean, nighttime on this game is beautiful, but all the little shimmers and reflections definitely put a bigger strain on the GPU than daytime with the sun directly above. But yeah, monitors don't seem to have quite as much of an effect. Picking up off of a 2 terabyte 980. The load time is fantastic. It's way better than Survival Evolved. Uh, they've definitely improved that a lot. I don't think there's anything else in here that now that would impact the game. Cool. Well, that's a snapshot of what this hardware will do. I'd say if you're there have been a lot of questions on the ARC Discord about gaming laptops. Oh crap! You wanna just shut them up for a second? There have been a lot of questions on the ARC Discord about gaming laptops and whether they're going to be able to perform. And I'd say a 6750 is probably roughly equivalent to, I don't know, like a 3070. Um, so like my lady has a 3060 in her laptop. She's probably not going to be able to get the same frame rates that I'm getting on high. I think the motion blur really helps make up for that. So especially on a smaller laptop screen, I think you'll be just fine. It's totally playable. Um, Running it on low, I mean, it runs better on low than I think ASE did. So I'd say, Steam will let you play a game for 2 hours with a refund. Buy the game, try it out on whatever your system is. It's far better optimized in my opinion. At least given a 7 year jump forward in time. Um, it's far better optimized on release than ASE was, especially after a couple rounds of improvements. Um, so yeah, I'd say spend that initial $40. See if you can get playability in that first 2 hours of owning the game from Steam. See if you can get playability out of it. And then if an hour and a half in, you don't think it's quite fully baked, get your refund on Steam, and then um, I don't know, give it another month or two. When they first released the game, I couldn't use it above medium settings. I was getting frame generation about, or not frame generation, but I was getting frame rates of about, God, probably 15 to 20 on high. On medium, I was getting mid 20s with motion blur, um, and that made it playable enough on single player that I spent a couple days just playing single player. They released that update yesterday, and that really helped, especially if you get away from the water. The footpaw where I am now is not a good place to is not a good place to look at frame rate. There's a lot of different types of textures here. There's a crap ton of water. I mean, this isn't a great test, but looking down away from the water, it's already jumping up over 10 FPS. So I moved my base over between the redwoods and the volcano on single player, and that alone seemed to bring it up about 10 to 15 frames per second. So yeah, I'd at minimum recommend trying it, but so far I'm loving it. I can't imagine going back to Survival Evolved.